Jane is in Tucson celebrating her birthday with her daughter, so she won't be here today. But she asked me if I would introduce Jay McCowan, who is a firefighter from East Moline.
Retired.
He's a retired firefighter. Okay. And he's with Churches United, and that's how Jane met him. He belongs to the Second Baptist Church in Rock Island. But his talk is going to be about how faith sustains him when he's going into a fire when everybody else is coming out. And I thought I would just leave it open for a few more minutes.
Well, they were so noisy out there.
I know.
Really hard you.
First of all, well, thank you for your service.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes.
This day 15 years ago was a rough day. I remember exactly where I was at. Yeah. That's one of those things you remember. Like, I'm sure for your area it would be, I don't know, I'm not going to go back too far. Let me see, maybe World War II, around Pearl Harbor, and let me see, there's Kennedy got shot, Martin Luther King Jr. got shot, Bobby got shot, Nixon, let's see here, Nixon resigned.
Yeah.
Reagan got shot.
First man on the moon.
First man on the moon. So there was
Landmark,
things that you always remember where you're at or what
It's
you're
the only day everybody can remember without even pause to think about it.
Yeah.
Three numbers, they don't.
Yes. Yeah. So
What is your position with Churches United?
well, I'm one of the board members. I'm also on the finance committee. Second Baptist has been a member of Churches United for a long time. And we have a food pantry at our church. And we are always in the top 5. Sometimes Milan pushes us out. Believe it or not, Milan food pantry is really, that just shows you the need in the area. I mean, there's people working, but there's still a lot of people that are in a lot of need yet. So I'm going to get started. Mind if we pray before we start?
Sure. Go ahead.
Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you, Father, for us to assemble together, Father. I ask now that you would just step me out of the way and fill me up, Lord, and that we will be able, Father, to convey what you want me to convey, Father. Thank you, Father, for this faithful that has showed up, Father. Please let this ministry grow. In Jesus' name we pray and give thanks. Amen. Okay, so faith and fear. So Jane asked me to talk about faith and fear. Okay? And really, faith and fear, this isn't something I come up with. I heard some WDLM this week. Faith and fear, they're kind of diametrically opposed. If you think about it, you really shouldn't have fear if you have faith. You could have concerns, but you shouldn't have fear. I mean, fear is a healthy emotion thing to have because a lot of times fear keeps you out of trouble. But there's a good fear of, there's the fear of fire, some people have fear of heights, I was thinking about that today. I heard one of the preachers on WLM talk about it. But David talked about Psalm 23. I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. Okay, so he talked about fear in there. But a little bit about myself. I'm a Baptist. We always got to give a scriptural foundation for it. So, I'm from Rock Island. I was born and raised in Rock Island. Went to Grant Elementary School, which is now the Thurgood Marshall School for Alternative High School. It's still there. Lived a couple blocks from it. My brother and my mother still live there, and I have a couple of pieces of property still down in that area. Went to Edison, graduated from Rocky High School. Go Rocks. Any Rocks in here?
We live in Rock Island.
You know Rock Island?
Yeah, we live in Rock Island.
Okay, good. Go Rocks. All right. My family I'm going to do a little bit of history. My family got to this area in the Civil War. My grandpa Wilson, him and all of his family left this the different plantations in Kentucky. They came up here. All the men joined the Union Army. And my great-grandfather, Grandpa Wilson, was in the 108th U.S. Volunteers. They fought in the Battle of Atlanta. They came back this way, and they were in charge of guarding Confederate soldiers on the Rock Island Marshal. So that's how my family got to it. And then after the war, they stayed. Actually, he lived in Port Byron. I have relatives buried in Port Byron Cemetery. And if you go to Port Byron and look into his historical documents and the Historical Society, you will see a picture of my grandpa Wilson in there. He was the area veterinarian Okay, and you have to remember now that was all farm. So if your horse was sick, your cow was sick, and he was the area veterinarian for there. Plus, he was a fireman in the lime mines. Because that all that out that way was lime mines. They were kiln mines. On Route 84 when you go through, that wasn't there. That was all mines and like kiln mines where they had to heat the lime up to cure it through there. Yeah. So that's what he was fireman. Plus, and you guys remember Amos and Andy on TV? Mm-hmm. Remember Kingfish? That's my great uncle.
Oh, my goodness.
That's my great uncle. Yep.
So you're related to Shelley Moore Guy also then?
Yeah, that's my cousin.
That's your cousin, okay,
That's
because she
my
was
cousin.
here last year.
Okay, yeah, that's my cousin. Yep, Shelley's my cousin. Yeah, our grandfathers were brothers. Yeah, so married, have a wife and kid. My wife might be showing up sometime. I have 2 little girls, 7 and 4. And yes, I'm retired. I put 20 years in at the East Illinois Fire Department. Started out as a firefighter, worked my way up. I became a captain. I was also a fire marshal, and I also was a fire investigator. So done a lot of things. But through all of this, though, God has always had His hand on me. So I know Jane kind of wanted me to talk about faith and fear. But I'm going to get to that. But I'm kind of really going to talk a little bit about how God has always had His hand on me, and how I know that God has had His hand on me, and He's always kept me. Okay, and that's part of my faith. I've always knew that God was going to be with me. I accepted Christ at 8 years old at a vacation Bible school in Grant. Everyone heard of Christian Friends, right? When I was youth old. You ever heard of a lady named Miss Betty? Miss Betty. Yep, I'm one of Miss Betty's kids. Yes, that's how. Okay, there's a whole bunch of us that come out of that. I'm a deacon at my church, soon to be a minister. Here probably about the next month or so, I'll be a minister. There's evangelists. There's a couple of preachers that all come out of that. Miss Betty, great. Okay. If you get a chance, go volunteer down there, especially men. These young boys are lost. They really need some good, strong men down there. So I'm retired. I was a fire marshal, fire investigator, TRT, which is technical rescue, hazmat, and also on like a management team, okay, emergency management team. So what all those things mean, TRT, technical rescue. Okay, so say there's a tornado blows through a town and wipes everything out. We'd be the guys that we would get together, and there's an excellent team in this area. We would get together and we would go out from house to house and search for people. And then we would do rescues for collapsed structures, whether it's wood structures, these type of structures. If somebody's down in a ravine, we're the guys who can rappel down ravines and bring people out. Somebody's stuck on the side of a building, like see the one where those skyscraper guys or windows cleaners were stuck on the side of the building and their scaffolders going out. Well, we'd be the guys that would go out on a little bitty rope about as big as your finger and rappel down, hook those guys up, and bring them in or bring them someplace else. Okay? You guys, everyone's been to the marker, iWireless now, right? Okay. If you look way up there, that's where all the scaffolding is when they put the lights in. So we used to go way up there, and get up there is a hike. We'd get up there and we practice. We all had to go train on our skills to keep them sharp. And I've been all the way up to the mark and have rappelled all the way down to the floor before. It's fun. TRT is trench rescue, like guys that you see them digging out there if the trench collapses, guys who go out and do that. One of the things I've been through, I get to here, is a grain bin. I've been to a grain bin that incident, and that was one of the sad things. There's a few fatalities with that, and one of them was a 14-year-old young man. I was there. I was there and helped bring him out. That was not a good deal. That was probably a low point in my career. But I'll say this through this whole talk, is that God has always put you there and prepared you for a reason. And He just didn't put you someplace for nothing. It may be years until it's manifest. It may be every day. It may be every week. It may be every few years. But God puts you in a certain place with certain skills for something. Okay. So my first job was at Eagle Foods. Remember Eagle Foods?
Oh, yeah.
17 and a half years I put in there. From bagging groceries to being a store manager, I went out to the warehouse and worked in IT, and I got a front row seat of the fiasco of them putting that thing in the ground. It was horrible. It was, Eagles hung on longer than what most of the companies that's honestly partners that owned us out of New York, investment firm. Then most of them they run on the ground 3 to 5 years. Eagles held on. It's like a bad summer cold. It held on and held on and held on before finally bankrupted and gone. Excellent place to work, yeah. But still, God had a plan for my life there. I had some good mentors there that helped me think clearly, helped me know how to lead, helped me know how to. Here's my wife and kids now. Go get her. Sit right there. Hey, honey.
Do you have a cough drop? Do you have? I can't find mine.
So, God put me in the right spot to be able to handle and talk to people, customers. And when customers come in, how to handle customers, how to handle different types of people. Right? I worked in a store in Rock Island that's now True Guy on 30th Street, Rock Island. I worked there. Then I transferred to the new store when they built it. That's where the Best Buy's at now. And a whole different culture shock. So some of the people that live behind that store, and it's called Fruitland, were very poor people. Okay, I grew up in the west end of Rock Island, and I've seen poor people. Okay, people wear hand-me-down clothes and things like that. You know, my family was blessed to always have jobs and always have something. But I grew up and went to school with people who didn't have anything. Then I went to that store, and I've really seen people that were dirt poor, that didn't have much of anything. So once again, God helped me to see and open my eyes up to a whole different set of people. Okay, great people though. All right. So let's get to the fire department. So I'm sitting at Eagles, and I realized I had to get out of there because I was a sinking ship. Okay, rats and roaches were jumping off the ship. Okay, people were jumping off the ship. It's time for us to go. So my first thing I wanted to do, I wanted to actually be a state trooper or a federal marshal. So I'm standing in this bar in Rock Island. I was on the Dark League back then. This is in the late early 90s. I was on the Dark League. And the chief of the Rock Island Fire Department, L. Sexton, was on the other team we were playing against, and we were talking. I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a policeman or a fireman. I actually want to be a trooper or a federal marshal or something like that, you know. No, you want to be a fireman, okay? All right. You want to be a fireman. Why? Well, you almost get paid the same, the pension's about the same, plus people like you. They wave at you with their whole hand. With the palm. Not turned around and one finger up. He told me, I was like, oh yeah, right. So people don't spit on you, people don't laugh, you know, people like you, you know, they really like you. You have to think about it. He says, look, Jay, this job, he said, I'm telling you what this job is. It's 100% of getting along with people. The other 15%, that doesn't add up right, but anyhow, so the other 15% will teach you. He says, you can do this. So I thought about it, prayed about it. So I'm standing, and a lot of things work together. This is how God works in your life. So, being from Rock Island, I want to get on Rock Island's department, naturally. So I'm standing at this other establishment in East Moline, after Al talks to me into being a moving fireman up on the list. And I'm looking at this bulletin board, and I see East Moline Fire Department, I'll take an application for the position of firefighter. Yeah, okay. So I go test. There's 200 applicants at this test. 200. And this is in 1994, 200. We test, we go through the physical agility, no big deal, we're in good shape. Go through all that, test, take the written test, didn't hear anything, had oral interviews, didn't hear anything, all of a sudden I get this letter back. I'm number 2 on the list. Actually, I was number 1 on the list. Number 2 could use his military, because you have in the military, people could use points, civil service points. That guy went to number 1. Now here's where God's providence was over me. I didn't realize this until years later when Al told me what happened. So, and I remember this guy. This guy, number 1, was from the Navy, but he was out on the medical leave. He was in a car accident. He had pins and screws in his back. We're all wondering at the agility test, because he was in our group, why did your doctor clear you to take this being a fireman? Why? But he did. Okay. So Al used to be chief of Rock Island and setting at work fitness for an injury he had. The doctor walks out to him and goes, hey, you're a fireman. Yeah. Fire chief, yeah. Hey, this is an x-ray of a person here. Would you hire this guy as a fireman? Oh, look at that. Says, well, this is placing screws in his back. Oh, no, never. The guy can step on a job day one, hurt himself, go out on 65% disability, and never pay a dime into it. No. And at the time, the pension board could deny you because of your medical history. That was a hit on the pension. He goes, oh, no. The guy goes, okay, walks out. So then a couple of weeks later, then they send me the letter. Hey, we're going to offer you a job. I accept the job. So I take the job. So Al's back in the work fitness, and a couple weeks later, and he asked him, he says, hey, that picture you showed me, what was that about? And the guy explains to him. And in the meantime, he told Al, hey, I'm getting all these small loans. They're hiring me. Well, that's what it was. That was the guy that was number one over me for East Moline. And Al, the guy who talked me into it, basically got me to number one and didn't even realize it. He didn't tell me that until like a few years later. But that shows you how God works things and puts people in places to do certain things at certain times. Okay? So, get on. I hired in March of 1995, go to Academy for 6 weeks in Champaign. Now, I'm totally fire illiterate. I know you put water on fire, it usually goes out. You put a lot of water on fire, it really goes out. Okay?
That's magnesium.
Yeah.
You can still put a lot of water on it, unless you got a lot of magnesium. Good metal fire story. Remember to tell you later. Okay. So I get on. Totally fire illiterate. I go here to get a little bit of training on the air pack. Here's your air pack. Put this thing on. Now you gotta remember, you're breathing out of a tank. Now back in the day, we had these heavy tanks. They were metal. Now they're composite. These tanks are like, carrying about 45 pounds on your back. The old tanks. New tanks are probably about 35 pounds on your back. Okay? You put all this gear on. So I get down there and learn all these new skills. Okay? The week and a half before I was supposed to go down there, I sprained my ankle so bad I heard stuff popping and cracking in it. So I'm sitting at my old job with ice on it, elevated to get it down so I could get it in a boot. So I was still working both jobs. I worked one day on at East Moline, get 3 days off, and go out to the Eagles. I was still contracted out there and working in between my days off out there. So they actually kept me on out there for a special project. So I made it through that. But God still opened doors for me with that. Okay, because I thought I was going to quit Eagles altogether, but no. They made it so that they come out, they did an assessment, they were changing some things, they still need me out there, so I ended up staying out there for a good couple of years working both jobs. I get through all my training. Training's interesting because a lot of us there were totally fire illiterate. I'm 30 years old when I got on. Most of us were like in our 30s. It was an older class. We really gelled together because we had some common sense and we worked other jobs. This wasn't our first job, and we knew how to follow directions and give directions. So we were a really good crew. So we get together, and this is how it is. They take you to extremes. So you take a room this size here, and they pile some junk in there. This is down at University of Illinois. So every time all the kids would leave the dorms, they clear out all the junk, and there'd be piles of couches, and they throw that stuff in there and set it up like a house, and they burn it. I mean, they pallet stack, they would burn these things. You're probably in a room that's like 10 by 10, and they'd have pallets in the middle of it, stacked about this high, and that thing would be cooking. You can't see anything. You can't see the hand in front of your face. You can't take your glove and put on your mask and see it. That's how bad it is. And you're flat on the ground crawling. I mean, for the first week, they had us crawling. No hoses. You were just crawling. And they split you up into groups. And you learn how to protect how to depend on your buddy. Okay, firefighting is a team sport. Okay, you learn how to do that. And you're always on that guy's boot. That person's always on your boot. Okay, you always follow the wall or you always follow the hose line. And they teach you survival skills. Okay, so they take you in a room. Okay, you're going to do a right-hand search. When you come in the door, you're going to turn right. You're going to follow the wall. You're going to be filling things. You're going to be filling the wall, the door. They had you calling out window, door, whatever. And then they would do something and say, okay, get out. You had to remember, crawl and chase your way back to a window or something like that and bail out a window. Now, all this is things going on. It's hot. You're crawling, literally, on your back, on your belly, flat down. When they say crawl on a fire, well, these were so bad you couldn't see anything, maybe about that far off the ground, maybe it was hazy. Okay, so they would train you. They would train you, and drill you, and drill you, and drill you. Then they gave us a hose line. But only on the hose line, the 1.5-inch hose line, they would put this little tip on. It's called an agitator tip. And it was about the size, openings about the size of your pinky. And that's what they try to tell you to put a fire out with. But you never get enough water out of it to put the fire out. Okay? So they would train you and train you and train you that to get you sharp on your skills so you could, if something bad happened, you had a lot of survival skills. How to buddy breathe, how to skip breathe. If you was running out of air and stuck, there's a way that you can breathe and not take full breaths. It's called skip breathing. When I used to go running, I used to practice skip breathing while I run like 1.5 miles, 2 miles skip breathing. There's a lot of other guys that do the same thing. You prepare yourself, just like with being a disciple of Christ, being a Christian. You read your Bible, you pray, you come to Sunday school, you learn, you prepare yourself. You prepare yourself to defend your faith, which is really important. You prepare yourself. So, became a paramedic, a lot of ride time, and this is where I really seen that life is precious. Okay, my first day on, third day on the job, sitting there at lunch, eating chili, call comes in, possible suicide. So we jump in the truck, we go up to this building, go in, police officer walks out and goes, "You guys are too late, it's done." They go up there and put the monitor on and make sure you're dead. So we walk up through flights of steps. It's a young man, a lot going for him, a whole bunch going for him. Decided to end his life over a woman, and he shot himself. And I can still remember to this day what the room looked like, what it smelled like, and what the scene looked like. Okay, you still smell the gunpowder in the air. Where he was laying at, the condition of him, still remember to this day. And I come back and I always went into that job knowing that I was going to see and hear things that I did not like. And my motto is, my arms are too short to box with God. So a lot of prayer to get through that. And a lot of times I could go to work and detach myself from it because that was my job. My job was to go in there and make the bad stuff better. This case, I really can't make much better. I didn't have to make the notification call to the family. That was the police department's job to do. I just felt sorry that this young man had sunk that low in his life that he did that. Then I got on the department, after all the training and stuff. So we were doing a lot of ride time, a lot of medicals. We ran a lot of medical calls. Most of our calls are medical calls. 80% of our calls are medical calls now. My first year there, aging population, a lot of codes, a lot of heart attacks. And then you go into these heart attacks, and me, I'd always pray, Lord, let me do the right thing. Let me get the right drugs, let me do the right intervention, let me do, because they give you this, as your paramedic, they give you this bag of drugs. We have lots of neat drugs. We have drugs that can speed your heart up, slow your heart down. We have drugs that can stop seizures. We got drugs that can take the pain away. We have a lot of good drugs that we carry with us, okay? You give the wrong drug to somebody, you can kill them, okay? If I get mixed up out there and your heart rate's slow and I can use some atropine, I will kill you, okay? If your heart rate's very fast and I can use some epi, I can kill you. If you're having an asthma attack and I don't give you some Benadryl and give you a breathing treatment right away, I can kill you. And all of a sudden, the first time I'm out there as a paramedic with these drugs, I'm looking at somebody and going, this ain't about me, this is about God. I don't know about anybody else, but I had to have God with me to get me through that, to clear my mind and help me think straight and help me think clear. And then quickly make split-second decisions. It's not like in a hospital, I can walk up to the doctor and go, hey, what do you think we give him such and such? Yeah, let's get up in the book. No, it's like we carry a certain amount of drugs, and we have to know how much to give you. Okay, how much do I give you? Okay, and I'm doing all these interventions. Okay, so we get there, and people have coded, and now I have to deal with family members who are looking at you work on your loved one. The reality of it is their loved one's probably gone. I've only had a couple people come back. Only had a couple. There's one lady we had, she called, just got off the phone with the dispatcher. We're at the door. The dispatcher tells me the radio. Okay, I just hung up from her. I opened up the door. I said, ma'am, we're here. How you feeling? She's sitting in the recliner. I could just see the back of her. Ma'am. I walk over. I shake her. That quick. 15 seconds. 15 seconds from when the dispatcher says she just hung up to when I opened up the door and walked in. About 15 seconds. Gone. Nothing we could do for her. Perfect world. The fire department was there, the ambulance was there, the cart was there, the defib was there, the drugs were there was enough people there that were smart and knew what they were doing. Gone. She's gone. Another young man, back to suicides. I think it's like my third year there. Now, take mine now, at that time we were working 1 day on and 3 days off. So 1 day, 3 days, 1 to 2 days a week we were working. And we were 24 hours at a time. 1 year I had 8 suicides. I responded to 8 suicides. 8. All of them males, all of them were women. Most of them hangings. And then, one of them, everybody left for work, and that person doubled back down the basement, hung himself. His middle school aged nephew come home, thought it was weird his car was there yet, walked in the basement, found his uncle. So now you have to console that person. Okay. I've had calls to people that I know. Bad car accident. It's like 2:30 in the morning, and they're like, "Oh man, 2:30 in the morning. Oh good Lord, who ran in the back of something? Something stupid." We get there. There's a car rolled over. There's other guys saying, "Hey, there's somebody in there. They're struggling." What? Oh man. Run over there. We look. This guy's laying upside down in his car. We took out a phone pole, laying in the ditch upside down. We're working, we get the jaws out real quick, we pop the door out, we drag the guy out, we know him. He's a city employee. I just talked to the guy maybe about 2 weeks before he was in the group. He was in the department store clowning about a show that used to come on with his kids. Okay? We were clowning about it and stuff. Good guy, real good guy. A mother's only son. And, we take him out, we get him in the rig, and we're looking at it, and he dies right there. He's gone. The first fatality I had by myself as a paramedic, back to when I first got on, young man, I think he's about 16 or 17 years old. Him and all their buddies, they have this stupid little game they play. Kids do a lot of stupid things, and they don't really think about it. A lot of us have done stupid things and went, man, that was dumb. It was fun at the time, but by the grace of God, He saved me from it, not getting hurt too bad or too much trouble. So there's 3 of them walking along, and they always had this game. Whoever's driving the car, they see the other ones, they'd always kind of drive at them. Of course, everybody would jump to the sides and everything. Well, the guy driving, going down the alley, 2 of them jump one way. He says, oh, they're all jumping that way, so he swerves the other way when the other kid jumped that way. Hit his friend. I get there on scene, never forget, none of those things, never forget the day, it was warm outside, it was in summer, the police officer, he's still working, and know him real well, he runs up to me, he says, I don't think, he got on about the same time I did, but on the police side, he runs up to me and says, I don't think he's doing too good. And the look on his face, I'm like, uh-oh, this isn't going to be good. So I call for additional help, get out, this kid's kind of breathing, I stick an oral airway in his mouth, and it should gag you. Nothing. And in my mind, I'm trying to process this. He dies on the way to the hospital. So I've seen older people die, I've seen younger people die, I've seen friends die. The only way I've been able to make it do that is prayer and my faith in God. I don't like some things that go on sometimes, like Job. Job didn't like what went on with him, but he still did not curse God and die like his wife wanted him to. He didn't listen to his 3 friends like they wanted him to, okay? But he did ask God some questions, and then I get to ask God questions, and I go back to Job. Okay, where were you at when I formed this earth? Where were you at when I tamed the Leviathan? Where were you at when I separated the night and day? You know, where were you at? Okay, got me there. I don't like it, but you got me there, and I know you gave me the training and expertise to get through this. Now, I've had also to go to people's houses that I know, and I walk in, and you know, a lot of times you're not doing good. A really, really close friend of mine's mother passed, and I walk in, the daughter, my buddy's daughter walks in, he says, Uncle Jay, is Grandma going to be all right? I said, honey, I said, no, Uncle. I said, Grandma's going, she's not going to be okay, you know. And there's a lot of times I have to take off fire department hat, put on family friend hat, take off family friend hat, put on deacon hat. There's even other people that go to other churches that associate with my church. I go in and have a bad situation, and it's after everything is taken care of, the other firemen know, you know those people? Yeah, I know them pretty good. Okay, we go take care of stuff. There's times when the people have asked me, say, look, can you pray with us? And I've had to go and pray with people numerous times. Had to go pray with them. So a lot of times you take hats off. As a fireman, you are a social worker, a shoulder to cry on, a problem solver, a comforter, a champion, a fix-it-all person, and a role model. And yes, I've been up on roofs trying to get a cat out of a tree. There was one time, there was a bird, a domesticated bird that flew off out of the cage, was up in this tree. These people were just all up in arms about it. So I'm thinking it's some $5,000 bird, you know, some bird you can go out and buy for like 20, 30 bucks, you know, they're up in arms about their bird. And every time that we get up a little bit closer on the ladder, we put ladders up to get to it, that bird will look up us and hop to the next level. It's like, yeah, come get me. So yes, we would have a lot of crazy things like that, you know, which is the funny side of the story. But usually when people call us, we're seeing people on their worst day. Their worst possible day. Their loved ones died, their loved one is dying, they're having some problems, their house is burned down, something of that nature. Now the crazy calls are, out in East Moline they can burn, and at you can burn till 5 o'clock. At 5:01, I kid you not, 5:01. Well, no, first you would get the call at 4:30. What are your burn hours? You tell them. Thank you. At 5:01, that same person will call back, my neighbor's burning. All right, let's go. We get in the truck, we go out, we're riding down the neighborhood, and all of a sudden you find this little bitty spot like that smoldering. But guess what it is? The neighbors don't like each other. So there are a lot of times you have to get out, and you have to mediate between neighbors. And it'll be us and the police officer standing there trying to mediate between neighbors. So like I say, you're a social worker, you know. A lot of times there are people, older people, that don't have anybody, and these are the calls that really kind of bother me after a while. They don't have anybody to talk to. Family members don't talk to them, or they're alone now. They've lost a spouse or something. They will call you for everything. So you know what we do? Especially me. I walk and sit down and talk to them. What else I have to do? I know when I got promoted to fire marshal, I was on days and had a car. If I knew there was somebody that was a frequent flyer or frequent caller, hear the call come in, I'd go on the call with them. We'd go in there and sit down. Well, I had a car, so I could stay there. I'd sit there and talk to them for a while. You know, what the heck? What else I have to do? You know, God has told me, you need to take care of people. God has put that in my heart to do that. Sometimes people need to be compassionate, and God puts you in the right place at the right time. So, close calls with me. One time we had a fire, and it was right around Thanksgiving. It snowed a little bit. It started to snow, so we get there. My partner and I were the first in. Okay, my partner is probably about 6 foot. And he's about maybe 230, 240. Pretty good sized guy. And we get to this call. So the only way we could get in this house is up this older house up on the front porch roof into the second floor window because the fire actually burned through the center of the house. So we do that. We're in there fighting fire. We get it knocked down pretty good up in the attic. Older house is up in the attic. We get it knocked down real good. So we're coming out. So Mark, he's tall enough. He can step out of the window, grab the ladder, one step out. Me, I got long legs, but I was too short. I step out of there. Here I go. And I'm going, uh-oh, this ain't gonna be good. In the back of my mind, you have to know me, I have a warped sense of humor. In the back of my mind, automatically I'm thinking, it's not the fall, it's gonna be that stop.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I'm thinking, fall on my back, on the air path? No, that's really gonna hurt. Fall on my side? No, that's gonna hurt. Okay, how about I try to fall on my legs and then flip and roll over? Well, you're probably gonna hurt your ankle. Well, okay, I'll hurt my ankle, maybe I'll be all right. Well, I said, well, I'm gonna grab this ladder. Well, then I know was, Mark was footing the ladder for me. He was holding the ladder. And I slid, I'm sliding. And I stopped the ladder and I stopped sliding. The ladder didn't flip over, you know. I stopped sliding, going, oh, that was good. Got that bullet.
Yeah.
So I climbed down. I finally told Mark that he stopped that ladder about 3 years ago. And that was like, 2 years into my career. I finally told him that when I retired. I said, he retired, and that was about 5 years ago. I said, you don't realize you kept me from sliding off of a roof one day. And I told him the fire, you remember the fire. He remembered it. I said, you don't realize that you kept me from sliding off of a roof, Had a lot of bad fires as a fire investigator. Had a lot of bad fires. Had one fire, senseless. Elderly man was basically robbed. They killed him. And then to try to cover it up, they set the house on fire. That's what they did. That young man is in prison now. I think he got 60 years. And he's like 19 or 20. So he won't be out till he's in his 60s or 70s. That's the bad side of it. So I'm standing there looking at that. Now, how do I reconcile that with my faith? Well, once again, this is a sin-sick world. It's not going to get straightened out until Jesus comes back again. And I have to pray through it and help God to get me through that. Okay, once again, I have to rely on my faith to get me through that. Not to become hard-hearted, still have a heart for the man's family, for the man and what he went through. Because it was horrific what he went through trying to get away from him when these young kids drug him back in the house and they killed him. Okay, pretty bad deal. One of the really low points was, but once again, faith in God helped me get through it. Everybody remember that condo that exploded a few years ago up off of on the road heading down to Hy-Vee off of Avenue of the Cities. There was a condo explosion. 3 people got killed in it. I was on call as investigator. Well, I was in Moline, even though I worked in East Moline, we all covered for each other. So I get a call, hey, we got a fire in a condominium here. Can you come in and investigate this? Their investigator's on vacation. Yeah. I get there, and I look in the whole front of this condominium, one floor, there's nothing there. I'm looking straight into rooms. Okay. The other one next door, because they kind of set like this, the one next door had fire in it, but the officer that got there was quick enough to get another hose line off into that other condo and stop the fire there. One individual was laying there, he had some second-degree burns, and we were trying to account for about 12 people. We couldn't account for an older gentleman. There was a young lady with 2 young kids we couldn't account for, but thank God something told her that she needed to go stay at her mother's house that evening. And so she left. Now to me, that's the Holy Spirit telling her, you need to leave here because something bad's going to happen. And she listened to that. We're still looking for another young man, an older man, and a lady. This lady, never forget this thing either. She saved about 3 or 4 people. She was calling them on the telephone, telling them, hey, there's a fire here in this condo. I can't get out. You need to get out right now. She was calling people on the phone and got people out. She opened her front door, couldn't get out. She went to her window. She couldn't get out. She was Catholic, clutching her rosary, right back with her coat half on, right by the window. That's where we found her. The older gentleman, we kept looking for him. Finally, we're walking down the steps. All this debris has fallen down, and one guy looks down. He says, hey, I think I found him. But I think I found him. All you can see was his knee through the rubble. Cleared the rubble away. He was on the steps coming out. The individual that done it, he got 65 years. He was upset because his mother and his girlfriend would not give him any money. So he sets his apartment on fire, causes a gas explosion, and he kills 3 people. That's what he did. So, you see a lot of things, you smell a lot of things, but I had to continue to pray to get through those things, or else I would go nuts. And like I said, keep saying, I still see things. I can still tell you how a room was laid out when I went into it. And this is after 20 years. I can still tell you some things, what something smelled like, what it looked like, what people said. A young man, he shot himself almost in front of his parents over his ex-wife. I remember that day he locked his parents outside the house and shot himself. We get in the house, we're working on him, and his dad is just bawling. His mother is on the phone calling people like it was business as usual. I had to pray for that because it's going to hit you. It bothered me. It bothered me. Part of the things I have to do being a fire investigator is I talk to people, and I'm talking to them after their house has burned. Anybody had a house fire? Ever been through it?
As a kid.
As a kid? Pretty devastating. Smoke has a way of just messing up everything. And then we come in there and start chopping holes in walls and spraying a lot of water. We're spraying 100 gallons a minute of water in hoses, put this fire out. And then I get to come in and I talk to you and ask you all these crazy questions and your house, and a lot of times where they're still trying to put this fire out in their house, okay? Sometimes we can get it out. The last one I was at before I retired, there was no way we were going to get that fire out. It had too big of a jump on us in this house. And we just couldn't. We pulled everybody out and we basically let it burn down where the fire, we could get to the fire. It was all in the walls, it was in multiple places. And we just had to let it basically burn through the roof, and then we were able to put it out. So I'm standing with this guy talking to him, I'm trying to ask him questions about stuff, why this house is burning. And God has given me a spirit of being able to talk to people and comfort them. A lot of times I run into them and I realize that they're Christians, and a lot of times I don't. I say, hey, can I pray with you? I know that there might be some people that go, oh, you're working for the state, you can't do that. But you know what? You have to do that. You have to give people some type of hope. That's why I say God puts you in a certain place at a certain time to do certain things. Okay? Then 911 happened. That helped to remind us of how serious this job was. On average, usually 100 firefighters get killed a year. Okay, and that's been consistent since the turn of the century or 1900s. And we got to do different training and different techniques to try to change that. But then 911 hit, and there's they say 343. It's 344. There was one guy that was a volunteer from another state that they they actually said, hey, come on and deputize to help, and he ended up dying. Okay, that was a big change because that helped people realize that when things are going bad, we're like the Marines, okay, first in, last out. I always say, if you see a fireman running from someplace, you need to be running too. Okay, because we're usually there trying to take care of things. That was a game changer there. There were a lot of guys going in, and they were calling, like one guy called his wife up and says, hey, this is bad, I don't know if you want to be back. There's a picture of one kid, young firefighter, walking up these steps, and people are taking pictures as he's ushering people down. About 15 minutes after that was taken, that tower collapsed, and he was in there. So, anyhow, I always tell people you can't be wired right and do that job. That's what I say. You can't be wired right and do the job. Okay, here's something to keep in mind, being a fireman. Put on about 60 pounds of gear.
How much that stuff weighs? 50, 60 pounds, okay? It's like putting on a heavy sweatshirt, a plastic garbage bag over that, because that's like a vapor barrier, so you can't sweat out, and water can't get into you, okay? And then put on another like a jacket. Okay, so that's your coat. That's your pants and your coat. And then put about 35, 40 pounds on your back. That's how you breathe. And put this mask on. That is your air. Most people cannot have that because it's claustrophobic. You have this mask on like this. That is your air. Your air is on your back. Okay, depending on how good a shape you're in and how much work you're doing, you have maybe 30 minutes worth of air. 15 to 30 minutes worth of air. Depending on how hard you're working and how hard you're breathing. That's all you have with you. And then you have all this gear, and then you're crawling into a house you've never been in before, and you cannot see. It's filled with smoke, it's hot, you know it's on fire. Now, if there's people in there, you think that somebody might be in there, then it's a lot of urgency. You're called to do searching, feeling, and everything else, seeing if there's somebody in there. Okay, if you find out, hey, everybody's out of the house, you can relax a little bit and put the fire out. But for the most part, this building is coming down around you. It is being demolished around you by fire. And you have a certain amount of time to get in there and get that fire out before stuff starts collapsing. These newer houses with the lightweight construction, you got maybe 15 minutes. You can't get to the fire in 15 minutes, you need to pull people out because it will come in on you like that. And it gives you no warning. Older houses, the floors will start to buckle and sag. Now, I've been in an older house before, we're crawling around and going, hey man, this floor don't feel too good. You know, kind of spongy a little bit. Hey man, this floor's hot. Hey, you guys checking the basement, we got a basement fire, we're heading out, you know. Yep, we head out to basement fire. One hot fire we were in, we got in our apartment, I crawled around, couldn't find anything, went back out. It was a basement fire, the doggone floor is just hot. We come out and like, man, that's not right. Next thing you know, we go back in, we pull back out, make it a defensive fire, put water in from the outside, go back in there, and the door, it was a basement fire, all right. The door leading downstairs, when we were in there, the door was a complete door. When we went back in, the door was burned from top to bottom. They burned the door up. So, yeah, it's an interesting job. So, the story goes, there was this big fire, and all these big engine companies were there. There's a big warehouse fire, and it was just blazing. So they're all there, and all of a sudden they turn around and hear this fire truck coming, the sirens blaring, and it's this, the dinging and stuff. They go, oh, that's all the old guys that we have. We keep way out there the other end of town. You know, they just go, we've got the oldest truck here. You know, these guys are about 70, 75 years old, and that's the youngest one. And they're laughing. All of a sudden, these old guys come flying by. What are they doing? They're not stopping. Boom! Right by, right through everybody else, right in the middle of the fire. These old guys jump off, boy, they pull the hoses off, start fighting the fire. Pretty soon, they knock the fire down. Everybody else goes, hey, let's give them a hand. So we knock the fire down. They go, wow, that was great, guys. What happened? Man, we've never seen that. You guys are really something else. They go, no, the brakes failed on the truck. So there's another rescue that was out on the boat. This lady had fell overboard on this cruise ship. Well, there's this 80-year-old guy went in after her and saved her. And they threw him the life thing out, and you know, they pulled him up and everything, and they were really honoring this guy. He's a hero. He's 80 years old. You know, man jumps in and saves this young girl in the ocean right out in the sea, just bobbing up and down. And he says, well, you want to say something, sir? The guy comes up to the towing and he says, I just want to know one thing. What's that? Who pushed me? So, I'm done. Any questions? We talked enough here. Yeah.
You mentioned being paramedic. You're already in the fire, and then you've got the paramedic training afterwards. You were still in the fire department.
Yes.
Okay, so you are a paramedic.
Yep, I'm still a paramedic till 2018.
Okay, I see.
State of Illinois. Yes.
When you went into a house and somebody had coded, how, without being a doctor, do you know which way they've gone? It's also hard to determine which meds to give them.
Well, we have a certain algorithm that you have. Okay, the American Heart Association, the place that teaches CPR, so they have an algorithm. It's called, and the program that they have this algorithm through is called Advanced Cardiac Life Support. And we all have to be ACL, that's called ACLS for short, qualified. So they have a certain algorithm that you do. There's a certain amount of CPR for so many cycles, and then they always have, there's certain drugs you give. You're either going to give atropine or epinephrine. Epiaptrin, you can give amiodarone sometimes, that's kind of expensive. So we have a certain number of drugs. And even when you go to the hospital, the same thing. They're going to be giving you epi.
But if they're unconscious, how do you know what?
Oh, how do you know?
How do you know? Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, we have a monitor. We walk in and put a monitor on, and we can see what your heart's doing. Everybody has an EKG, right? Well, we carry a little portable one with you, and they can do neat things. They can shock you. It can shock live people like an AED can. It can shock you. It can pace your heart. It can take a look at your heart and see what it is. And there's certain rhythms that you have to know. Okay? Plus, I can walk in and look at you and take your pulse. Okay? When I walk in and I look at you and say, okay, how you doing today? And I'm sitting there talking to you, and I'm feeling your pulse. Okay? I can feel your pulse right now.
Yeah.
Okay? And I'm looking at you, and your color's good, your skin's good, your eyes look good. Like talking about eyes being window of the soul? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. So I'm looking at you right now and go, oh, you're pretty good. You have a average heart rate on the slow side.
I haven't OD'd or anything.
Nope. Nope. And you're looking at you have good skin color and things like that. I can look at you and tell. I'm going to look at how much you're breathing. Okay? My model was always this. If I'm taking a breath, you need to take a breath. Okay? Mm-hmm. Yes?
I have a question about you have all these various situations you walk into. Are you ever called afterwards to go to court to testify?
Yes, that's a good question. Yes. I had to go to the murder, arson. I had to go to that one, but before I testified, they went ahead and pleaded out. Had to go to court on that one. Let me see, I had one individual charged with arson. It's interesting, arson laws. Him and his sister both inherited this house. He burned his house, he burned the house, but he did not have authorization to burn the sister's half of the house. So you could charge him with arson. But he had a little mental issue, so we got him straightened out. But yes, I had to go then. I had to go before a judge to get court orders or to go in and investigate fires, to get back into them again. I've had to write those up and go for a judge and have a judge sign that so we can go back into someplace. Yeah, so I've had to go to court a couple of times. Had to go to administrative court on a call where it was an environmental issue, and we actually had to go in hazmat suits. So my hazmat technician also had to go in hazmat suits because there were so many cats in there, and the cats never got out and they peed in the house, and cat pee turns into uric acid, and it turns into uric crystals? Uric crystals, and when that gets more cat pee on it, then it lets off ammonia. So we had to go in and I had to go to administrative hearing on that one. So yes. Oh yeah, I'm the hazmat guy too. I was actually more on the hazmat team, playing with chemicals. But luckily I get to sit in the command booth because I was one of the team leaders. I will tell you, in this area you have some of the best trained firefighters in this area for anything bad that can happen. There's a dedicated TRT team and a dedicated hazmat team. Most of us are cross-trained with it. And it's Rock Island, Moline, East Moline, Rock Island Arsenal, Airport, and Bettendorf fire departments. And anything that happens, those guys can take care of anything. There's probably about 50 of us that are out of all the firemen that are trained in all these different specialties. I still know stuff now. If something bad happens and they call me, I can still go function in part of those teams. So, I want to introduce, this is my wife, Bernadette.
Hi.
We've been married. Our wedding anniversary's come up here in a couple of days, 8 years.
I think she's got a question.
And that's my daughter, Julia. Yes, honey.
What kind of fires did you fire when you were in the fire marshal?
Oh, when I was a fire marshal, I would show up in my car and I would still put my gear on and go in and fight fires. But at that point, I was a captain and an officer, so most of the time it's like, no, you stay out here, like I'd be a sector officer. So I'd be in charge of one side of the building or maybe two sides of the building. And I'd be in charge of the men that went in and come out, make sure that they were safe, look at the conditions, report those conditions back to incident command. If things aren't working, we'd all powwow with incident command and go, look, we need to make this defense and pull guys out. We've been messing with it for too long, and we need to pull guys out because we're making no headway. Or we need to change our strategy on it. So then I went from basically being a doer to a thinker. But I still kept myself in shape in case I had to go fight a fire. The East Moline department is kind of a small department, only 30-some guys. So I pulled on scene, and we had to go in, and this happened before. We get on scene to a house fire during the day. We got cars in the driveway, some toys there. We think there might be somebody in. Yep, I'm grabbing an air pack, I'm grabbing an axe, I'm getting on a hose line, and I'm saying, okay, we're going in, part two. Or two of us, we're going in through the front door doing a right-hand search. Primary search, and, so it's, once again, it's training. I never really did get scared in a fire because I had the tools and the training to get through most things. And God gave me an ability to think clear and think straight and not panic in situations. Plus, the whole time I'd be doing something, I'd be praying. There's a couple of times guys heard me praying, or at a phone, or at a medical call, I'd be moving my lips or something like that. Okay, what are you doing? Praying, what do you think? Now, I know you, I've been doing so. Oh, that's my youngest daughter, Sarah. Can you wave, Sarah? Can you say hi?
Hi there.
No, she's not. She is.
Yeah, today's the chat.
Yeah, she's going to be 4 in January, and Julia's 7, second grader. Yep, my wife and I, we got engaged on Friday the 13th, got married on Saturday the 13th. We closed on our house 13 days after it was on the market. Julia was born June 7th, which is 6/7/13. Sarah was born January 14th, so 1 minus, 14 minus 1 is 13 on the 13th, 2013. What was the other 13?
And I was pregnant with both of them on 13.
She found out she was pregnant with both of them on the 13th. 13 the number.
Well, my
What
birthday's
about your
on
story about the metal fire?
The metal fire. So there used to be this machine shop down in East Moline on the other side of Hereford Park, down in Watertown. It's not there anymore. So we get called for a fire. Well, they had these little bitty pebbles, almost like it was more like a fine dust. And they would machine this stuff and it would be out in this hopper outside. Well, it got hot and it started on fire. Well, you couldn't see the fire. There was no flames to it, but when you stand off to it, you could see the heat signature coming off of it. And when you got about this close to it, you could feel the heat coming off of it. And it was actually on fire. It was burning, but you couldn't see it. That's one of those cases where we don't have enough water to put on it. You wouldn't want to put any water on it, so it creates so much steam and it explode. So they called in Enviromark, and they came in and they have like a special foam they could put on it. But yeah, there's lots of different metal. Metal fires are completely different. You really don't, unless you have a lot of water to put on it and you can stand way back off and do it, you just let a metal fire go. You have special, or you have to find out what metal that they are working with, and then find out, okay, how do you put this fire out for this particular metal? Because magnesium's different than sodium's different than lithium. They're all different how you put them out. So that's one of those things. Okay, everybody back up. Okay, let's make sure nothing else around it to burn. What do you have in there? Do you have the MSDS on it? Do you have any safety issues? Let's talk to your safety officer. Okay. You start looking up things. Okay, this is what it says to do with it. Okay, well, I guess we're just going to let it burn out. About maybe 2-3 days later, it'll burn itself out. Like rail cars. Rail car, okay, I'm also trained in rail car, like hazmat and derailments, okay, with rail cars. A lot of times with rail cars, they'll be burning, and luckily they're burning out in the middle of nowhere. There's some good videos on YouTube of rail cars exploding, especially that Bakken crude. Way out in the middle of like Montana, Wyoming, middle of nowhere, and they'll be like 1.5 miles, 2 miles off, and and you'll see something, you'll see explosion, you'll see something rocket through the air. It's a rail car. It's a tanker. Next time you see one going by, think about it. They're like 1.5 miles off, and this thing explodes, and you see something rocket through the air. It's a rail car that is being propelled that far, that high in the air. And there's nothing thin on a rail car. Nothing thin on one.
I had to go to a couple of firefighting schools in the Navy. And,
Okay.
on one occasion, they wanted us to, he gave us a hose and wanted us to put out this fire. And then all magnesium.
Oh, yeah, this nice bright light show, wasn't it?
But it was breaking down the water into hydrogen and oxygen and making more fuel.
We're getting more fuel for it, yes. And they weren't giving you enough water.
Now they're bent over laughing.
Yeah.
I had occasion to call years ago, Sunstrand Aviation, they're out of business now.
Yep.
They had a plant in Rockford.
Okay.
They did nothing but machine magnesium.
Mm.
When you machine magnesium, you take heavy cuts, it lightens spontaneously burns.
Yes.
They had a row of maybe 10 special machines. Before we went in, they said, we have a fire in here every 10 minutes. We don't even know it. They had taken those machines and completely shrouded them in lexane.
Yep.
The machine coolant was flooding in there. You couldn't see the tool cutting.
Yes.
He says, this stuff catches on fire and then goes out.
Yep.
He says, the only way we can handle it.
Yeah.
Thank you
It's
very
amazing
much.
how people can come up with ways to get around this mess.
Yep. Now they put them in. They enclose them now. They can take in. They've got different types of gases now that they can flood it with.
There's got some others that kills the oxygen.
There's oxygen on it. Yep. Yep. Yeah, there's John Deere has a building like that. It has 3 different, 4 different types of extinguishing agents in it. They had to read them all of those before I went in and inspected it. Pretty good.
My thinking that most of industry tries to avoid magnesium anymore.
Yeah, there's other things they can use now.
There's so many other
Yeah,
applications.
yeah.
We were doing it because of helicopters.